match area right now, my friends. Let's get underway with the final round of Swiss here at GP Prague. Hello, my friends, and welcome to live coverage of GP Prague. We have round number 15 on your screens right now. You can see Christian Calcano on the left-hand side of your screen and Paula Dama de Rosa on the right. The two of them are ready to go in the final round here. These guys both at 12-2. Simon, you're expecting this to be just a straight win and in?
Yes, because of tiebreakers mostly. So you want to get up to 39 points. However, 39 points will not be a guarantee to make the top 8.
So Paula Dama de Rosa, one of the strongest Magic pedigrees in the history of the game, of course, elected to the Hall of Fame at the young age. I think he was about 12 or 13 years old at that stage, and he is heading to Dublin next weekend, of course, for the Pro Tour, with a very, very strong team indeed. It's not just PV, it's also Mike Sigris, Joel Larsen, Ben Stark, Andre Strasky, and Eric Froelich. So Hall of Famers all over the place, young players, old players. And these guys are really going to try to make their mark on this tournament. But all we are worried about at the moment is the game that's unfolding in front of us. Christian Calcano, we've already seen his deck, which is just bonkers today, as he's started to get things kicked into gear. As Paula Dama de Rosa on his side of the battlefield, you can see he's gotten underway with a Fleet Wheel Cruiser and some other stuff in there, including a scrap trawler, Simon.
Yeah, not the worst start on his side either. Definitely high-powered rares here. He's actually cast 3 rares in a row.
So the scrap trawler doing a little bit of an impression of that our old friend Mattery Shaper from Oath of the Gatewatch here. We did get a look at Christian Calcano's deck previously. He is leaning very heavily on the little snaky there, the Winding Constrictor. He's got 2 copies of that and all sorts of +1/+1 synergies. He's also heading into next weekend with a strong team. He's along with Andrea Mengucci, the Gooch, Anthony Lee out of Australia, Javier Dominguez, Michael Bonday, and of course Corey Baumaster as well. These guys on MTG Bent card, the team for them there.
Not one of the A teams, not one of the AAA teams, but certainly a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, definitely going to be up there, as it's back to PV after Christian Calcano now plays out his creatures.
We get a look at Fabrication Module and Either Stream Leopard. So Christian Calcano's deck is full of synergies. He wants to get energy, he wants to make +1/+1 counters, and Winding Constrictor will lead to even more of those.
And you can see here the huge synergy already between the cards that Calcano is playing. That Leopard enjoying the benefit of 2 +1/+1 counters rather than the normal one that module would give. Back to Dama de Rosa now, and he's playing here a Morphist Revolutionary. Don't think he got any extra counters off it here.
No, he didn't have any to speak of.
No, he doesn't have any energy, I don't think, in his reserve. So he would have just picked one of his own permanents, or maybe even targeted himself here. But just as a 3-mana 3/3, the Revolutionary is still doing a good job.
And trample to boot, so that's quite the package.
Back to Calcano now, and we see here the Aetherseer.
Wow.
Pima Aetherseer comes down, and that's going to snag him a bunch of energy here. 5, if I'm not mistaken.
4+1 from the Winding Constrictor, and then the Fabrication Module triggers again.
Oh, look at that. That's very, very neat indeed. So all the way up to 7 energy with just that one card there, the Pima Aetherseer. But no attacks here for Calcano, and he has to ship back to Dama de Rosa. Now, of your Pashiri here, we've seen Paula Dama de Rosa do his best to dismantle Jeremy Desani in previous rounds with this card. And the Sage Lifecrafter obviously having a huge impact in previous games. We'll see what kind of advantage Dama de Rosa can leverage out of the 1-mana legendary card this game.
Could we
certainly with a huge amount of mana to dump into your odds on to take over.
Could we see a game where PV just moves all in and uses the 5-mana tap ability every single turn? This is the big question. If Calcano can keep up with that.
Paula Dama de Rosa in possession of, as you can see, of your Pashiri Shin. She does it all. She slices and dices. She's got a built-in toaster and a car alarm, ladies and gentlemen. She does it all. But the question on Dama de Rosa's lips is, do I have enough time to put to the Sage Lifecrafter to her full use? He finds a plains, and you see shipping the turn with 5 mana up. Suspicious, Simon Götzen. Highly suspicious.
Yes, and there is also a nice little line you can take here, which is to animate a vehicle and then make the creature so that it has an additional point of power and toughness for if it's needed in combat. And Calcano, I don't think he wants to delay this game unnecessarily.
The Sage Lifecrafter, though, as we say, poised to make a huge impact here. Calcano's going to have to come up with some kind of answer, whether that answer is just winning the game. But he also has some pretty degenerate synergies going on as well.
Absolutely.
As we see, oh, look at this. Look at this. An Aetherborn Marauder taking to the skies here and going to snag 5 counters, if I'm not mistaken, thanks to that... Thanks to the Winding Constrictor. You can see here the Marauder can steal +1/+1 counters from any other permanents you control. Which means that I think this Aetherborn Rogue is going to end up as a 7/7, Simon. Should Calcano elect to nick all the... oh, no, it's not going to do all of them. Okay, all right. So just going to be 3 counters placed on there. A bonus one, thank you to the Snake.
We also know that Calcano has a combat trick that rewards him for having creatures with +1/+1
yes,
counters.
Lifecrafter's gift, of course, we've seen this. Lifecrafter's gift, putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and then an additional one on each creature that you control with a +1/+1 counter. There is no way to explain what this card does that makes intuitive sense or is easy to say. But it's bonkers. Suffice to say, it'd be bonkers in this situation. I think that's the technical term for it. Back to Dama DeRosa now. He has made one of these constructs, and you can see that it is a 4/4. And that's static. That doesn't change. It's not like the old Voice of Resurgence token, which goes up and down. It stays as a 4/4. Dama DeRosa once again shipping with 5 mana. Suspicious, Simon. Suspicious. But I mean, you're paying 5 mana for a 4/4 or a 5/5 or whatever. I mean, that's worth a card. That's not, you're not losing it. This isn't like Thopter Assembly.
No, it's just the thing is only 5 mana is so much that you will most likely just not use your other cards anymore, unless you really draw into that 7th, 8th land, and then you can slowly deploy other cards.
Check this out. Aetherstream Leopard comes down after a second Winding Constrictor, boosting Calcano's energy count up to 10, gaining 2 extra things. And then, of course, look at this. The Aetherborn Marauder gets into the red zone as well, smacking for 8 in the air. That's a huge hit, and that's going to buffer Calcano's life total nicely, as we see PV once again activating the Fleetwheel Cruiser, and this time making a 5/5. But it's all about this Marauder at the moment, isn't it, Simon?
Yes, the ground creatures, they can grow by 1 each turn, and PV can continue pumping them out. He doesn't really have a good way to attack here, and I don't see him racing this flyer.
So Fabrication Module on your screen, Matej Zadelkai reading my mind there, the exact card that I wanted to have a look at here. He's the one behind the desk manning it there. And as you can see, whenever you get a 1 or more energy counters, you put a +1/+1 counter on another creature you control. Now, you don't get 1 per energy counter. It's just however many energy counters you get, you just get 1. But because of the Winding Constrictors, that ended up being 3 +1/+1 counters, not just the 1. So that's why the Aetherborn Marauder was able to take to the skies in such convincing fashion there, Simon.
And you are threatening with each activation of the Fabrication Module to get more energy than you deserve, and then more +1/+1 counters than you deserve.
Yeah.
Because these Winding Constrictors are just such powerhouses of synergy.
I mean, at this stage, it's pay 4 and tap. You get 3 energy and 3 +1/+1 counters.
Imagine if Calcano had a way to use that energy.
Yeah.
Apart from the leopards that are not going to attack anytime soon.
No, Dama DeRosa doing a great job of gumming up the ground, but he's going to need something like a Thopter Arrest. He's going to need a Caught in the Brights. He's going to need something to tie down this Marauder. Here are some pretty beefy attacks with the 4/4 and the 5/5 getting involved. Going and chucking some punches around here. These guys are hitting pretty hard. Yeah. Group of drunken punters outside a pub. They're really making themselves known here.
And Calcano does not have a 5 toughness creature. That means he will maybe have to double block one of the constructs or triple block one of the constructs. I don't think he wants to expose his Winding Constrictors. Those are a bit too valuable.
No, you just chuck the leopards in front of one of them, whatever. These things have done their job, and he's gaining 8 a turn here, assuming that Demeter Rosa doesn't have an answer to the Marauder. But that's the risk you take. You can't afford to take such a huge hit in case there's going to be a follow-up here that's going to neutralize the Marauder. And here is the follow-up play. Oh, look at that. That's a nice one indeed. So, Demeter Rosa tempting the block out of Calcano and then playing the Deadeye Harpooner that you can see on your screen, and that is going to shoot the Marauder out of the sky. She cops a cold one between the shoulder blades, courtesy of the Deadeye Harpooner. And that's the end of that one.
Deadeye Harpooner, I think, is one of the most skill testing cards. When to play it, how to get revolved, but also on the other side, when to expect it, when to play around it, how to play around it.
I mean, I've seen the Deadeye Harpooner cast so many times as just a Grey Ogre, and that's kind of been enough in a lot of cases, but there is just such high upside. But playing around it, playing with it, I agree with you entirely, Simon. Such a difficult card to play correctly.
Calcano could have, for example, just taken the damage. He was on high life total. He could have blocked the 5/5 without killing an opposing permanent. Of course, if you think without revolt, killing your opponent's creature is something that you want to achieve. In this case, it backfired.
Backfired quite badly as well. But I mean, is that what you do? You just throw those leopards under the bus there?
Are they relevant to your game plan?
In this case, I mean, those Demeter Rosa recognized. Yes, he has to take some kind of aggressive action.
I think in the case of Calcano, you know that you are only winning with your life-linking flyer. The rest of your creatures are not going to be relevant.
So you just do nothing to put it under any risk.
That was my point. I certainly think it warrants consideration.
Here's an attack now from Demeter Rosa. Looks like he's crewing up a vehicle here.
This is on defense.
So the Fleetwheel Cruiser has been I don't understand why the Harpooner has been has been tapped here. Have we seen the Cruiser get animated?
I believe so, yes.
So animate the Cruiser and then not block with it?
Maybe he changed his mind.
Okay. Well, an activation of the module here. Bunch of energy, bunch of counters, keep things moving along. And despite having lost his Air Force here, Calcano's still in a great spot. And look at this. This explains what's going on here, Simon.
Yes, because it's the additional toughness that's needed to survive this combat and deal a fair bit of trample damage as well. So maybe Calcano is able to win this game through PV's board.
Well, I mean, the Aetherstream Leopard, one of the things we've seen about this card that kind of gets overlooked just a little bit, not the first thing that jumps out of you, is that it does have trample.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we don't expect to see on smaller creatures, but it really can have a huge impact once the power keeps getting boosted with this creature. In any case, it's now back to PV to find his next response to this little problem. Those Winding Constrictors continuing to be two enormous thorns in his side. He does have a pretty well-stocked grip. We're going to see an attack with the 5/5.
Is he really the one that should be that aggressive though?
It's very game, attacking into the Aetherstream Leopard, which is right now a 5/6. In his hand, I can see, Countless Gears Renegade is up in there. Is that a gold card? Could be a Renegade Rally. I didn't get a good look at that one. Calcano, he's learned his lesson. He's just going to take it. And it's back to the American now. So we know that PV at a minimum is going to be activating Ovia Pashiri. And here's a Pima Aetherseer. Up to 12 energy. Jeez. Can't remember the last time I saw such an excess of energy that wasn't put to use. In comes the Leopard. Once again with Trample. That's critical in this place, Simon.
Yeah, but now we will see what PV was planning to do with this Leopard.
So, what's going on here? Dama de Rosa having a good old think about it. Renegade Rallier in the hand there for PV. In addition to a Foundry Inspector. A couple of other cards hiding out in his hand. And now the Brazilian goes reaching for 3 mana and finds... Oh, it's Acrobatic Maneuver. And that is going to immediately trigger the Deadeye Harpooner, which will immediately take care of the huge big leopard there. So that's a very, very nice one there. That acrobatic maneuver turning into a Swords to Plowshares essentially with upside, drawing an extra card.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That maneuver, another card that really, really gained thanks to Revolt becoming a thing.
Yeah, obviously we saw Cloud Shift in Avacyn Restored, and I mean a very exciting card, very cool card, but often wasn't getting there. But the thing about Acrobatic Maneuver that really pushes it over the top, drawing an extra card, that's the worst case you're in, and it's really, really strong. Here's the next plan, though, from Christian Calcano. Absolutely enormous monster here. As the Scrounging Bandar comes down with 4 +1/+1 counters instead of just the regular 2.
And with the amazing synergy that every counter you move off of it will create 3 on the target.
Yeah, that's true. So it can only move from one creature at a time. So unfortunately for Calcano, he can't pick 3 counters up and distribute them as he will. He can just pick them up and move them to one spot. But they will get a bonus of 2 extra counters every time they move, thanks to those constrictors. Now, the constrictors. Now, Calcano has really done well to keep these constrictors around. Obviously, he's troubled Dama de Rosa with other threats, as these guys have sort of just kicked back and relax. I wonder if it's enough, though, to go toe-to-toe with the Sage Lifecrafter.
I think now, yes. With the Bandar and the module, you can give a creature +6/+6 every turn. And that's not including any other cards.
Oh, jeez.
That's, I think, better than making a 4/4, making a 5/5.
Yeah, that is pretty insane, as we see the old Chumperoonie here with the 5/5 eating up an Ether Seer.
This time, Calcano denying PV any kind of revolt.
There's going to be a Caught in the Brights here on the other Ether Stream Leopard. It's not going to be attacking or blocking anytime soon, as we see now a counter removed, and which means 3 counters will be placed on the other Winding Constrictor, boosting it up to, geez, look at that, a 5/6, just like that.
And Calcano once again making sure that all of his creatures already have counters on them.
We've seen this, yeah.
He could have made the other Constrictor even bigger, just to have maybe that one lethal attacker. It's entirely possible that all his creatures are in fact lethal, if he has a combat trick.
Well, here's the attack now. The Deadeye Harpooner is having to jump under this snaky bus. And Calcano now with a follow-up play. And it's another Ether Stream Leopard. He has 4 in his deck. So he's going to gain... Look at this. The D12 isn't quite enough. Unless you're playing a Barbarian in D&D. You're not often seeing the D12 being rolled up. But here, a happy exception. Goes back to Dama de Rosa. He's got a lot of cards in hand. Look at that. Is that 5 or 6? It's a lot of cards.
It's a lot of cards because he has been activating his permanence instead of deploying more cards.
Ovia Pashiri has created a fair few constructs here. It's also been removal spells, and we've seen things like the Acrobatic Maneuver, but that as well as continued to fuel his hand. So, Dama de Rosa in a tight spot. Calcano's deck continuing to come up with the goods, and it's really been these snakes that have dictated the course of this game. They've just sat there, they've put a lot of counters on everything, and now one of them is being sent into attack, but that wasn't plan A.
No, it just happened to be that there was no other creature available.
Foundry Inspector being followed up by an Ether Geode Miner here. Don't know how much value Dama de Rosa is going to get out of the Foundry Inspector just yet, but the Ether Geode Miner can be very useful, especially when it comes to triggering Revolt. Attacks and blocks and protects itself. Quite a little card here. Now Kalkana's got some stuff to think about. Counting up exactly what Damatarosa's board looks like here. And again, with this scrounging Bandar, it means more +1/+1 counters are inbound. Looks like they're going to be placed on the Aetherstream Leopard here. And Kalkana, look at this, nervously, hesitatingly, could be sending them all in. Ends up attacking with everything except the Bandar. Gains a million more energy here. Or, sorry, pays a million energy to activate the Aetherstream Leopard. That's going to give it a further +2. So at the moment it's a 7 power Trampler. And Damatarosa now has to line up some blocks. Fabrication module proving to be a further complication here for Damatarosa, as it can place 3 +1/+1 counters on any given creature.
Yeah, quite the combo trick.
I mean, Damatarosa obviously aware of it. It's on board, but still, it's going to be hellish to play around here.
Two of the 3 creatures are lethal in the face of the fabrication module alone.
And the fact that the Aetherstream Leopard could end up attacking for 11 trampling. Or 10, I should say 10.
Yeah, it's currently at 7. 7 trample power. I have an interesting rules question, Riley.
Ask me.
If you cast Lifecrafter's Gift, is one creature considered to have gotten 2 counters or 1 and 1?
Oh, right, yeah. So is it going to get initial 2 and then another 2, or is it going to get 1 and then 2, or 2 and then 1, or what's it going to be? Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and then put a plus. I think it would get 4. That is my off the sort of back of the envelope calculation here.
I thought it would get 6. Either way.
Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, it would get 6 because there are 2 snakes out. Yeah, no, it would gain the benefit for each discrete time that it was put on. That is my guess, but I could be wrong.
If that's the card in Kalkano's hand, then PV is in really deep trouble.
Oh yeah, I mean,
anyway.
it's just all over Red Rover if that's the way that we're going. Damatarosa though is playing a bit of piano, tapping out the Moonlight Sonata before the damage goes through. And how is Kalkano going to deal with his challenge? Does he have a way to punch through the final points of damage? You can see a fair bit of bulk has been put in front of that Aetherstream Leopard there. Blockers are ordered.
7 points of toughness, I believe.
Yep, 7 points of toughness at this stage, a 3-2 and a 5-5. Ooh, Damatarosa's got something to say about it. Is this going to be an alley evasion?
Maybe a build to last.
Could be either one of those things. There's build to last on your screen.
PV is actually not too far away from attacking back for lethal. Of course, first he would need to survive this combat, but it's not impossible for him to construct a winning attack here.
No, it's not out of the question, and he's lined up his blocks very carefully here to give himself the maximum chance of it. Really thinking about where this is going to be deployed here, because he may need it to push through the 2 points of damage as a pseudo burn spell here. A lot of it depends on what's in Kalkano's hand here. Damatarosa giving a good amount of thought to deploying the trick that's in his hand. Here we see. Is it built to last? It's built to last, yes indeed. Look on the Foundry Inspector as well, so that's going to pick up indestructibility. Which means the 5/5 disappears.
No, I think Kalkano put the 3/2 first,
Okay.
so now he will have to assign 4 damage to it.
Oh, I see, of course, because it also gains the +2/+2, so that is going to save rather handily the construct as well.
Unless Kalkano uses his module to pump the leopard, but then PV is sure not to die this turn.
Sure, but as it is, the both of those creatures will will survive. So yeah, the level 1 thing or the level 0, whatever, the idiot level that I would have gone to is just obviously making the 5/5 indestructible. But
Level Riley.
level Riley, the one where you have to dig, you have to dig down past the basement, get the jackhammer out, and get through the concrete floor of the basement. But here is the activation of the fabrication module, and it's going to go onto the Ether Stream Leopard here.
So this way he does get to kill the construct.
Okay.
Which is probably his best bet regarding not dying this turn, but I'm getting a bit concerned for Calcano here. If PV just removes the... Oh, look how quickly he's untapping.
Yeah, this is trouble here for Calcano. He knew Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa was trouble when he walked in. And now we see unbridled growth. Well, that's going to take the pressure off. Going to draw a forest there for Dama de Rosa. Or maybe that was just to trigger revolt, because he does have the Renegade Rallier in hand.
Calcano is so close to dead, right? He can prevent 3 damage with his blocker. And that's 8 points of damage that PV is representing.
Oh, that's so close, yeah. Dama de Rosa can sniff it. He can smell it on the air, ladies and gentlemen.
Has Calcano already used Ornamental Courage, or could he be... No, I think Ornamental Courage would have been lethal last turn, so he would have used
cast
it.
Ornamental Courage earlier in the game. Here is a Countless Gears Renegade to create a servo token. That's going to crew up the Fleet Wheel Cruiser here.
That's one part of the equation, but you do need that extra point of damage, I believe.
So exile the Ether Stream Leopard, of course, because the Fleet Wheel Cruiser has just flattened it like a pancake, like a bloody cane toad up in Queensland. And Dama de Rosa gains some energy off the Ether Geode Miner.
What an awesome game 1.
Yeah. It's an intricate tapestry, this one. Deftly woven by 2 of the finest players of the modern age. Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa obviously heads and shoulders above many of the people playing here like that, and you can see his cool, calm and collected approach under pressure. Christian Calcano as well, doing very well to keep his head above water in very trying times. I mean, certainly in the driver's seat, I think it's fair to say. And look at this, very tidy as well, as the Renegade Rallier brings back the Ether Geode Miner.
Okay, so we have the answer. PV couldn't attack for lethal, but he has deployed Calcano of most of the scariest creatures. No more trample creature.
Look at that. Christian Calcano, his deck absolutely fired on all cylinders, Simon Gertzen. It's fair to say he was unable to enact a game plan that definitely was the best that he could have done, but not enough to overcome Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa, who through some very, very deft magic managed to pick up a W.
That was an amazingly played game by Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa.
You can see he's sideboarding quickly here and then shuffling his deck back together. Christian Calcano is going to have to rally here. He's going to have to dig deep and find a way back into the match, because he doesn't want his hopes to be snuffed out just yet. However, we're heading over to Florian Koch here versus Emmanuel Gershenson. Bit of a misspell, bit of a typo there in Florian Koch's name. We'll have to get that one fixed up, as these two go at it in game number 2. Looks like Koch managed to get the W first up. Gershenson seems to be stuck on lands here with only 4 of them in play. Koch not having the same kind of trouble.
And these players are in the same spot as PV and Calcano. They are fighting for a top 8 spot.
Yeah, let's not forget about that. Both of these players at X and 2 mean that they more or less are in with a win here. Filigree familiar for Emmanuel Gershenson.
There might be players missing out on tiebreakers with a 13-2 record, but still you have to fight for it nonetheless.
Seems to me that Emmanuel Gershenson subjected his opponent to an early pasting here, but Koch has been able to rally, playing out this Ethersphere Harvester, which has buffered his life total considerably.
And a nice 4/4 hexproof to stem the bleeding as well.
Yes, it's always nice to be able to sit behind a hexproof creature on defense, especially when it's the largest creature on the battlefield.
What's really amazing here is that Koch is operating with 9 lands, 7 in play, 2 in hand, and Emmanuel Gershenson on 4.
Yeah, and we still have quite a game in our hands. Although Koch at this stage does seem to be running away with it. Gershenson looking to race, but that's so difficult in the face of an Ethersphere Harvester.
If Gershenson kills the Harvester, the game is basically won for him. So I wouldn't call this over too early.
And Koch recognises he's going to need to keep the shields up, and Gershenson is free to take his next turn. You said, Simon, that Koch is sitting on a bunch of lands here.
Yes, and he now realizes that Gershenson will be forced to attack with his 3/3 at least. So holding back the vehicle is a good way to generate some extra value.
So Gershenson now, just with 4 mana in hand, or in land, sorry. And is it 4 cards in hand? Might be more. Oh, and up to 5. Is that going to change things? Is that going to change the equation for the Austrian here? Well, we'll see how this one continues. With these guys hitting the tank about the final stage of this game, we are going to head back to game number 1, or game number 2, I should say, of our first feature match between Paul Evita Damodar Rosa, of course, and his opponent, Christian Calcano. Already underway, the second game, well into it, as you can see. Got some +1/+1 nonsense going on already with Christian Calcano. He's played out an Aether Stream Leopard, which has benefited from a +1/+1 counter from the Scrounging Banda. On the side of things, Damodar Rosa getting off to a nice fast start as well, curving out 1, 2, 3 very neatly indeed.
Also a little bit of synergy there. Implement of Ferocity, I believe, can be returned with the Scrap Scrounger. It's an artifact of lower converted mana cost.
Yeah, sure. Yep, so that's going to provide extra value for Damodar Rosa eventually, as we see now the Verdant Automaton come down. It's going to pick up a +1/+1 counter as well here. So Calcano with something of a slower start, it must be said. But he's priming himself again with this deck that he's put together.
Yeah, and Implement of Ferocity doing good work for both of these players. And I think that's one thing that we've already learned. The pros in attendance here are valuing the implements higher than we initially thought.
Yeah, we looked at these cards and sort of thought, yeah, well, they turn on Improvise and, they can get Revolt going, that sort of stuff. But in and of themselves, just the effects that they produce and the cards that they draw, they're really holding their own. And that's been the biggest surprise for me, I think, this weekend.
But the green one is the best by far, right?
You think so?
Yeah, from the impact on the battlefield, I think this is the card you really want.
Here's the Scrap Trawler. That's hiding out on Paul Evita Damodar Rosa's side of the battlefield. Interesting that it doesn't just trigger on itself. If another artifact goes to the bin, then you can snag a bit of trash back from your graveyard. So, Revolt triggered now. Pretty obvious stuff going on there. And we see the Harpooner deployed for value as it destroys an Aether Stream Leopard.
Harpooner was the absolute MVP last game.
Yeah, well, we saw Calcano pull way ahead with his Aetherborn Marauder, but wasn't enough with Damodar Rosa shooting it out of the sky.
And now it seems like Calcano is on a significantly weaker draw. He might have also mulliganed. It looks like he's almost out of gas already.
So we see now the +1/+1 counter from Implement of Ferocity going onto the Scrap Trawler. Nothing for Damodar Rosa to get back. If he had an Ornithopter in the bin, he could get it back. But if he had an Ornithopter in the bin, he probably wouldn't be at 12-2. So here's the block on the Aether Geode Miner once again. And once again, it's going to be blinked. Are we going to see another Revolt card here? Perhaps a Countless Gears Renegade?
It's a free attack.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yep.
If only to keep up the illusion.
Is it Countless Gears Renegade? Doesn't look like it is. Oh, it's Relentless. It's Renegade Rallier, which is a nice one. Getting back that implement here. You can see it's nice how it returns a permanent card. It's it's not just a creature. It's not just a land or something else like that. You can get an artifact back as well. This guy, again, pretty low on people's radars, not always getting back a relevant card, but it's done some real work, Simon.
Yes, absolutely. And I've seen so many good 2-drops in this format. I think you can often get good value from that.
So Calcano playing out his hand, 6 mana worth of creatures dumped onto the battlefield. As we see not only the Aether Stream Leopard here, but also the old Scavenger. Divine Salvager coming out as well. Not one of these premium commons that we've seen in Aether Revolt. Haven't seen a lot of him, this guy, this weekend. Sacrifice an artifact or a creature, you can put a +1/+1 counter on Divine Salvage. You can see it there on your screen.
There are some synergies with it, but it's certainly not a high pick.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think Calcano's deck is set up to take advantage of both halves of the card. Certainly if you're getting extra +1/+1 counters on it, that's fantastic. But I think Calcano, 90% of the time, he's sacrificing real cards to it.
That's true. He doesn't have a lot of ways to generate creatures that
No.
he's happy to sacrifice.
And not a lot of artifacts as well, as we've seen. So Dama de Rosa once again is going to blink this Ether Geode Miner. You see that just activating Revolt every turn on his turn is something he's happy to do. Oh, here it is again. We saw it in the previous round. The Consular Dreadnought is going to come down. And ladies and gentlemen, you can snag yourself a Slurpee at the low cost of 6 crew here. Don't know if the 7-Eleven is ever going to be open for business, but we'll see what happens.
Sometimes you just need a massive ship. What's the card below the Dreadnought?
That's the implement. The implement that was brought back there. And that's right. It can feel very good to have a massive ship. Just splash down in the middle of the harbour there. As we see, another implement hit the bin here. Implement of improvement this time. Buffering Dama de Rosa's life total, which is quite considerable, still at 17.
What's going wrong for Calcano is that he doesn't have his real engine cards this time, and PV's deck is too good to just die to an early Leopard beatdown start.
No, sometimes that will get you there, but in this case, it's not going to be good enough. And a Solemn Recruit is the next play here from Dama de Rosa, so he'll be very happy once again to be activating Revolt. I think the Ether Geode Miner was it revolted this turn or last turn? In any case, he's got enough to activate it here to place a +1/+1 counter on this double striker. Only triggering on PV's turn, of course. Not benefiting at the end of each end step. Or the beginning of each end step. Just on your turn. And Dama de Rosa is going to send in his goons here. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the history of our civilization, Consular Dreadnought has been crewed. Look at that. The ship, toot, off we go. Sailing across the harbour to beat poor old Calcano's face in. And he's going to have to put some creatures into the harbour here. Swimming out to be crushed by the might of this massive ship here. Never thought I'd see the day, Simon Gertzen.
No, I'm awestruck. It's just great to see this happen live.
Yeah. If you can't tell by the effervescence in Simon Gertzen's voice, he is indeed awestruck. As we see now, the scrounging Bandar, that's going to do cause some problems here for the Consular Dreadnought. And jump in the way of the massive 7-11. As we see PV now, after these blocks have been declared. And what is it? It's a built to last. So that scrap trawler's not going anywhere. Calcano is going to put an extra +1/+1 counter on his Verdant Automaton. A little bit less impressive, I think it's fair to say, as his board gets taken to the cleaners. And let's follow it up with another implement. So Dama de Rosa playing at least 3 implements, perhaps more.
You have to give Calcano credit for just stoically activating his automaton.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to keep. You got to stay fresh, ladies and gentlemen. And Christian Calcano does that. He goes down swinging, but Polo Vita Dama de Rosa on the back of his Consular Dreadnought, confirmed for the best vehicle in the set. And look at that face. He's very, very happy indeed to have snagged what is almost certainly another GP top 8. Christian Calcano, pretty philosophical about it. You can see he's happy to have landed deep in the money as well, and maybe pick up a Pro point or two for himself heading into Pro Tour Dublin. He's had a good run, and he's got to give himself a pat on the back. There's no shame in losing in the last round to one of the best players that we've ever produced.
Playing for top 8 against one of the players who's certainly in the top 5 of all players to ever play the game.
Of all time, yeah, sure.
I think that's a good Grand Prix to play.
Yeah, no, he's done well, Christian Calcano. Congratulations to him, but heartfelt congratulations to Paulo Vita Dama de Rosa, ladies and gentlemen, because this guy has almost certainly snagged himself a spot in the top 8. Of course, the announcement will be coming to you as soon as we have it ourselves, but right now it's time to head over to our second table, my friends. You may have checked in with these players earlier on today. It's time once again to have a look at what's going on in the feature match area. No, we have some new players here. We've got Joachim Schoberg and Fabian Friedrich here. So as you said before, Simon, sometimes the pairings can play funny buggers, and these guys are on different records.
Yes, and Joachim had been so much ahead of the standings the whole tournament. It's I think he has rarely played against somebody with the same record as him, simply because he was the number one seed.
And picking up the draw at some point as well. He went a long way with being undefeated. I think he was something like 11 wins, no losses, 1 draw. Might have even been 12, I'm not sure. In any case, he's looking very, he's looking very tasty here for a top 8 spot. But right now, a mulligan to 5, Simon Götzen.
He was undefeated, and then he lost to Ivan Floch, if I'm not mistaken, who basically secured his top 8 with that victory.
So, Joachim Sjoberg here now, after a mulligan to 5, has kept something on top, so he's got to be happy about that. Down comes the green belt Rampager, and up goes the green belt Rampager. Gaining 1 energy here for Friedrich. Dund operative, the play for Sjoberg.
Second forest would be a nice way to do things.
Looks like we're going to see it here. The old elephant coming down and eating up 2 energy, and a 3-4 on turn 2. Great spot to be in.
No artifact on Sjoberg's side. This is the important part.
Yeah, that Dund operative would be much more effective as a death touching 3-2, but right now just a 2-2, just the old Grizzly Bears.
And Sjoberg is on that mulligan to 5. He's almost forced to double block. He doesn't have any leeway. He doesn't have any room to maneuver.
Friedrich now. It's a Kujar Seed Sculptor, and oh, geez, that's awkward. That means that double block is no longer an option here for Sjoberg.
No.
Friedrich just double checking. Doesn't have death touch, does it?
Not yet. Sjoberg needs to draw some artifact that replaces itself.
So Sjoberg down to 16 here. He's going to need an implement or something.
Or a fabricate creature.
That'd be nice. Again on the mulligan to 5. He's going to find it difficult to bring all the pieces together, and with the 4th land and no play, let's hope he's holding on to something here, an instant of some kind. Four mana here for Friedrich. See what he can find. I can see an Outland Boar in his hand, but this time around it is the Pima Ether Seer, which is going to snag Friedrich 4 energy, and we're going to see it used as a removal spell as well. This turn, Dund operative must block, and we're going to see a double block placed on the elephant. And look at this, shrink it down as well. So despite Friedrich here having a little bit of utility with his Ether Seer, Sjoberg's still able to eke out a bit more value out of his cards. And that is a 2-for-1 still in the favour of Friedrich, but it's got the elephant off the board, and that's the most important thing. In comes the Drake. 2 damage in the air, and Friedrich forced to take it.
Huh.
And another cruel finality. Look at this. So Sjoberg is doing very well. Another scry, and another card kept on top. Simon Götzen. This game is opening up.
Yes, I'm impressed. I mean, Friedrich still has a full hand, but this could go Sjoberg's way after all.
It's been a much better showing than we expected from Sjoberg. So hard to come off after a weaker start. So hard to get back into it. So Hinterland Drake, of course, getting in there after having blocked the elephant. It can't block artifact creatures, but it can block flyers. Oh, sorry, it can block non-flyers, I should say.
It's not Cloud Elemental.
No.
After which it has been modeled.
5 more mana now. And it's back to Friedrich. Sjoberg choosing to fabricate a +1/+1 counter in this instance.
And so does Friedrich. Pima Outrider.
So a 5-4 ambitious Etherborn facing off against a 4-4 Pima Outriders.
Yeah, it makes sense. When your opponent plays a 4 toughness creature, you really want that 4 power creature.
Sjoberg playing his land upside down there. Maybe the pressure of this game getting to him a little bit. Cracks maybe beginning to show. And here is that it looked like was that a monstrous
onslaught
there?
4 damage to the ambitious Etherborn, because Friedrich is controlling a 4-power creature.
I think that's what it was here, and that's left Sjoberg without any kind of blocking capabilities, and so he's been knocked down a fair whack here, all the way down to 6 as Friedrich continues this onslaught.
Maybe punished a little bit for attacking with his Drake there, but as we've mentioned, desperate times call for desperate measures.
I mean, this is the thing: when you're behind, you've got to risk it to get the biscuit here. And Sjoberg was certainly in a position to do that, but Friedrich has punished him with some timely removal spells. Still sitting on 1 card in hand, both players with 1 card in hand. And you have to hand it to Sjoberg. He's done really good work to keep his head above water for so long, but it's not going to be enough. And Fabian Friedrich, the crowd goes wild, ladies and gentlemen. Toralf Severin, another few Berliners there, are very, very happy indeed to congratulate Friedrich on his win. As are we. A great performance from Sjoberg, but unfortunately not enough to get him up and over here.
Incredible performance, right? 12-0-1 at a certain stage for such a young, such a fresh player. That's amazing stuff.
No, he can go home happy tonight, regardless of the way that the cards have fallen, because he's done an exceptional job, and that really showed tenacity. That showed a great attitude towards the game here, finishing with a mulligan to 5, but still really going down punching. And you've got to hand it to Sjoberg. He did very well. Friedrich, however, the winner, my friends. We'll be back with more Magic and a top 8 announcement coming your way before much longer. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. GP Prague resumes after these messages. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to coverage of GP Prague. A great pleasure to have your company as we head right down to the bottom end of this tournament. My name's Riley, and I'm joined by Simon Gertzen, the Pro Tour champion. Simon, this match on the viewers' screens, a replay, because round number 15 almost completely finished, but this one here between these two players, is it a win and in, Simon?
Most likely, yes. I don't know about the tiebreakers of these two players, but the winner will have a very good shot at being in the top 8.
So Jonas Novak here is playing an ice over after having cast a thriving turtle. And Fabian Dickmann is in the unenviable position of having his mana dork iced over. So it means it's just going to be a one-shot here, because as soon as it becomes tapped, it's not going to untap. Dickmann, however, unafraid to leverage this mana advantage as he plays an Eddy Tail Hawk. He's going to gain some more energy. And he's going to follow that up with a Kuja Seed Sculptor. So all of a sudden, the Eddy Tail Hawk is a real card.
No, and he needed the white mana, so he was happy to trade that one-time activation for a white mana.
He doesn't seem to have any planes in on the go at the moment, as Novak continues to pop his opponent on the grill here. And see what he can find. Rather disappointingly tapping his permanents over to the left there, but that's the way that she goes here, with the Chief of the Foundry coming down on turn number 3.
And the aggressive play of casting ice over on turn 2 it seems to be paying off, at least temporarily.
I mean, especially when you're hitting a Servant of the Conduit. I mean, that's a great start there. You know, this card, it doesn't often have the greatest impact. We haven't seen a huge amount of ice overs this weekend, but shutting down a mana dork like this, I'm a big fan of that play.
Yes, but if Dickmann had a plains in his hand, then he wouldn't have tapped the Servant. He would have just left it untapped to, for example, trade with or have a blocker for one of these creatures. So he would have gotten some extra value out of it.
Well, he's continued to develop his board. I think, is he holding a land in hand? He's holding a land in hand, which he didn't play. Simon, what's going on there?
No, could be the fear of a black implement. I think he's holding 3 white cards, so he knows that this one forest is not going to have value for him. There's no card he can draw that makes him regret not having cast.
Yeah, right. So pretty counterintuitive play here from Fabian Dickmann. He's definitely on the next level here, because if Novak plays and activates an Implement of Malice, then obviously Dickmann's wanting to protect the contents of his hand. Novak, however, the play for him is an Oval Chase Dragster.
Now we will see what Dickmann's deck is really all about.
Yeah, with that Plains draw here, it opens things up for Dickmann to start deploying his cards. So 4 mana available for the German here. Good to see the other Dickmann brother getting amongst it. Often in the shadow of, he's very much the Venus to Patrick's Serena here. But it's good to see him getting up and about.
Bravo.
Oh, mate, I know all about sports ball. With the kicks and the goals, don't worry about it. Fabian Dickmann now. Looks like he's got an Audacious Infiltrator.
Not the best in this matchup, it seems like, with the Thriving Turtle, especially after it has picked up a counter already.
No, but we may see it crew a vehicle or do something of some use later on. Also very good on defense as well as a 3-1 blocker.
Yeah, that's the most likely use for it. It's, however, difficult to play against this Oval Chase Dragster. You don't really want to block it early in the game because your opponent will just deploy those artifacts.
Yeah.
And based on the 3 cards we've seen, 2 of them synergize with artifacts. I would expect Jonas's deck to be containing quite a few of them. I
mean, really, all of the blue-based decks, especially blue-black and especially blue-red there, you've got to expect some kind of artifact shenanigans going on here. And this is the thing about the Oval Chase Daredevil. She just keeps coming back. She gonna come back round. Here is the Monster Truck. The Iron Trade Crusher coming down for Novak. And this is just step 1 here of the artifact plan. Dickmann. He's going to draw a card, see if he can find something special for his next turn. I can see what looks like a Restoration Specialist in hand. What's he just drawn? It's a white card. That forest still hanging out in Dickmann's hand, obviously looking to, as we've said, protect the contents of his grip.
He might also be planning to take things to the air. An attack for 5 is not game winning, but it is at least somewhat threatening to put Jonas from 16 down to 11.
Not insubstantial by any means. That Eddie Tail Hawk can continue to throw things up in the air for 3 more turns now. 3 energy in the reserve of Dickman. So, what's the play here? Dickman having to think about it, but it looks like, no, it's going to be the Infiltrator riding on the back of this Eddie Tail Hawk and across to give Novak a bit of a pasting here for 5 damage. The follow-up play. It is alley evasion, and this is a nice one. So invalidating that ice over and also generating 2 energy on the way back down the Servant of the Conduit. So yeah, tidy work here from Fabian Dickman.
And he can use that to cast double white cards in the future. I think I got a glimpse of a Visionary Augmenter.
Yeah, it looks like it's the old Ripley's, believe it or not, here with the arms spread wide.
And I believe a 2-1 Fabricate 2 could be just what Dickman needs in this situation. He wants to stall on the ground. He doesn't want to lose this game to either the Daredevil or the it's now actually a 7/7 vehicle. So this could be the main path to victory. Just hit for 5 in the air, maybe find that 6 point of damage that it's only a 2-turn clock, and then survive as long as possible.
And this is the thing, this is the real drawback, the liability when you're playing with a card like Iron Tread Crusher with just no form of evasion. It is just a big dumb idiot that can smash in for a lot of damage when unmolested, but even a servo token is going to get in the way. So Cruel Finality here is going to cut off Dickman's access to white mana. So also a pretty prescient play here from Jonas Novak, keeping his opponent off double white.
Just like the early Ice Over.
Yeah. That's going to curtail Fabian Dickman's development unless he's to draw planes right now. And once again, Novak tapping those permanents to the left. What's going on there? But he's going to get in with everything. Zimon, going all out, mate.
Yeah, these are the creatures he really wanted to attack with, and he knows that this is a match, this is a game that's being fought in the air, so which means that his ground creatures just have to keep attacking.
So the Iron Tread Crusher gets blocked by the Kujar Seed Sculptor, but the Oval Chase Daredevil gets in without any worries. And Dickman now down to 10. What can Dickman find off the top of his library? Looks like an artifact card to me. So I think that Ripley's going to languish in the hands of Dickman for another turn here.
Oh wow, that's the additional point of damage that Dickman needs.
Oh, look at this! Yes, indeed. You were just mentioning this before, Zimon. That one further point of damage that was needed, and not only does the Instrument of Ferocity add that extra point of power to the Eddie Tail Hawk, it also means that Dickman can have another crack at drawing a planes. He doesn't manage to do that, but it's still a great card. It's a Revoke Existence. Oh,
the only thing he needs here is a playable card, I think. No, Revoke Existence is not good enough. If you can't... Is it enough to enchant the Daredevil, maybe? Yes, because only if Novak doesn't have a creature to crew.
So that forest that he has been sandbagging this entire game here, Dickman, coming down in order to revoke something here. Now, as you say, Zimon, the Revoke Existence does mean that the enchanted creature cannot be used, as we've seen with Caught in the Brides, to crew a vehicle.
If Dickman attacks with both of his creatures here, he's presenting lethal next turn. However, if Novak plays a creature that is large enough to crew, he's dead.
Richard Hagen approaches with the solemn air of destiny about him. It looks like we may have a top 8 announcement to be making within the near future. You may be hearing the far-off roars of approval from the crowd. Richard Hagen keeping us all in suspense as he slowly makes his way away from us now. My goodness, stop playing with my heart, Richard. So Dickman now with the attack.
I love it. I think that's how you have to play Magic. Get in for 6, play your spells, and hope to survive.
Yeah, that's it. So here we go. The old Dalmendruck here for Fabian Dickman as he locks up the privileges of this Oval Chase Dragster. A menace to society, really, this Dragster. So a flavor win here for Dickman, if nothing else. We'll see what Novak can do. He can charge up this. Vehicle here. And Richard Hagen has indeed just handed me the top 8 of GP Prague, which we will be announcing very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few moments as we see how this game continues. Novak poised with his attack with the Iron Tread Crusher, but he needs 4 more damage, Simon. Can he find it? Where can he find it? Where can he find these extra points?
What he needs here is actually 3 more points of damage.
Okay.
Because the Crusher is being pumped by the Champion.
Oh, that's true. It's a 7/7.
So all he really needs is a 3-power creature.
So here's an implement, and that's going to draw Novak 2 more cards. But running very short on mana here.
The gamble by Fabian Dickmann was that Jonas could not present 3 additional points of power to kill him in this attack step.
But something like a Rush of Vitality could change things here enormously. But no, Novak doesn't have anything. Novak doesn't have anything, so it's back down to Dickmann, who does have a lethal attack. Is he going to be able to take out this first game, having never really settled his mana base sufficiently to deploy his cards fully? We'll see an attack. We'll see this Audacious Infiltrator flung up into the air, and Novak packs them up. Look at that. Fabian Dickmann pulling a win out of thin air. Simon Gertzen, really impressive stuff from him.
Really nice, really well played through the mana troubles, finding that clutch revoke privileges in the last possible turn.
So Dickmann goes up to 1-0. My friends, and a top 8 announcement is coming your way very, very shortly once these players are settled for game number 2.
Okay. It looks like we have the top 8 announcement ready for you, and we will be getting that over with shortly. As I can give you a little teaser, the cutoff was at 39 points as expected, and there are unfortunately players with 39 points who didn't make it.
Yes, indeed. There are, in fact, there are 3 of them, ladies and gentlemen. So our very warm congratulations go to Christopher Larsen and Ivan Flock. These 2 ending up at 40 points each, drawing into the top 8. Christopher Larsen, a big smile all over his Danish face as he's managed to win the Swiss, essentially, come at the top of the end of it. So in third position, Fabian Friedrich. We saw him earlier on in the game beforehand, as this game opens up now between Dickmann, with an Audacious Infiltrator kicking things off for him.
Fabian Friedrich, member of Team Germany.
Yes, indeed.
The World Magic Cup.
Yes, indeed, and a Berlin local as well, I understand. So obviously Berlin continuing its reign as the limited capital of the world, undisputed by all, ladies and gentlemen. Paula Vida Rosa finds his way into his billionth top 8 at a GP, coming in 4th with 39 points. And Yusuf Kemal Vefa, who has found his way onto the Turkish national team for the last 2 decades, Simon, he's in spot number 5.
Number 6, my good friend and teammate, Florian Koch. Very happy.
Indeed, another German finding his way into the top 8. And it's Rupa Metza as well in the 7th position. Only 1 player remaining on 39 points and 0.02% separating the 8th place finish from the 9th place finish. This stuff went right down to the wire. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to announce the 8th person now, because I can tell you it is neither Fabian Dickmann or Jonas Novak. These guys getting pipped at the post, and the winner of that actually coming 10th. So in 8th position, Fabrizio Campanino. He's done very well indeed to squeak in there in 8th position. And commiserations to Alex Stock, who came in at 9th. But that is your top 8 for GP Prague in 2017. Christopher Larsen, Ivan Flock, Fabian Friedrich, Paula Vida Rosa, Yufus Kemal Vefa, Florian Koch, Rupa Metza, and Fabrizio Campanino. And that top 8 will start very, very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But until then, we've got to secure ourselves another winner here between Fabian Dickmann and Jonas Novak.
If you have the time, check out the top 16 and top 32. Some really, really big names in there, as far as I can tell. Unsurprisingly, for an event 1 week before Pro Tour Ether Revolt.
Yes, indeed. This event just absolutely stacked from toe to tip with all sorts of talent from around the globe. But let's turn our attention back to the game in front of your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Fabian Dickmann already getting things off to a good start here with this Audacious Infiltrator, and following that up with a removal spell that's going to take care of the Oval Chase Dragster. Once again, those privileges have been revoked. Novak, for his part, however, has a Vidalcan Blademaster. And with 5 mana, we'll see what Novak can bring to the table now. Let's kick things off now, and it's going to be a pacification array, which triggers prowess, of course, on the Blade Master. And that's going to get in for 3. That's a nice attack here for Novak, and a knock Dickman down to 15. And this pacification array could prove to be problematic as Dickman continues to develop his board.
I talked to Fabian this morning. Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, he was 7-2 coming into day 2. So he is fighting for a perfect day 2 here.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have the same amount of buys as his brother. He doesn't play as much real-life Magic, so might have only had 1 or maybe even 0 buys.
Filigree Crawler now, the play for Jonas Novak. When that shuffles off this Mortal Coil, it's going to leave behind a flyer. I think it's supposed to evoke like a caterpillar into a butterfly. Not that the butterfly is weaker than the caterpillar, however. Not sure what the flavor judge ruling is there. Incidentally, do you know how many legs a caterpillar has?
No.
Only 6, same as all insects. You think it's got a million of them, but no, it's only 6. The rest of them are little pseudopods.
Good to know.
Yeah, you learned something today, Simon Gertzen. Aetherstream Leopard now for Fabian Dickman. And here's a Fragmentize to get rid of that pacification array. Fragmentize, one of the biggest format that it's made an impact on is Vintage, of course. Fragmentize, an absolute barnstormer in Vintage, because it more or less just says destroy target permanent half the time. So many artifacts flying around there. But right now it's taking care of that pacification array. Perhaps not as glamorous as destroying a mana vault, but still a very important role.
And pacification array, I think, has also gone up quite a bit this weekend. We've seen it do very good work almost every time it's been on the battlefield, in sealed and in draft.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the activation is slow. I mean, it's 2 mana, but it locks down your opponent's best creature indefinitely.
The initial investment is very low.
Yeah, I think that's what really pushes it over the edge. It's 1 mana. You can sneak it into play on turn 1, or you can play it slightly off curve later on, and whatever. 1 mana is basically nothing. And
you have a bunch of synergy with other effects. It's not like a tapper that's creature based, which will have summoning sickness. I think the overall package is just great.
It is better than it looks, I think.
If it costs 1 mana, you would immediately be able to tell that it's an insanely powerful card, because that's like almost Icy Manipulator level of power. But because it's so cheap initially, you do have to pay 2 every time you tap a creature. That's the price you pay.
Morphus Squad comes down and creates a servo as well here for Jonas Novak. And Dickman's still thinking about what he's going to do with this turn. He's up to 5 lands, 1 energy in his pool. An attack here with the Audacious Infiltrator is going to trade off with the Blade Master there. That Blade Master's already got in for a couple of points here and there.
Not the greatest of trades, but Dickman takes it. And the text actually being quite relevant, not being able to be blocked by artifacts, because Novak would have had better blocks otherwise.
Oh yeah, of course. You just chuck the servo in front of that, even the Filigree Crawler, whatever. But no artifact shying away from the Goblin with the little gremlin in a jar. And this is a nice follow-up for Dickman here as he plays a Green Wheel Liberator.
Yeah, 2 mana, 4/3.
Yeah.
Nothing to complain about.
Tight. And Novak here with a Metallic Rebuke there. Not a card we've seen at all this weekend, Simon, as far as I'm aware.
No, and also this turn it wasn't at its best.
No, picked off the wrong 2-drop.
Yeah, it couldn't stop the 4/3. Of course, had Dickman tapped out for a 5-drop, that would have been an amazing card to have.
Yeah, it would have been really, really good there. Little 1 mana counterspell, but unfortunately for Novak, the show goes on. The Dickman show. Everyone's invited, my friends. As you see now, the 4/3 really make its mark on the battlefield, although that Morphus squad doesn't line up too badly against it on defense.
Yeah, Novak does have a 1, a 2, and a 3 power creature, so he can put them together to kill what his Digman has right now on offense.
Here's another implement now. Implement of divination, really, if we're going to be honest about it. Implement of invention, drawing 2 cards for Jonas Novak.
Yeah, not the.
Man, that would have been a much better name. Implement of instead of implement of examination.
Not the most impressive of the implements. I think the real power of the implements is that they that you can cast them for 1.
Yeah.
And that they really sneak under the curve.
Yeah, this is the thing. People looked at the implement of examination and go, "Oh, that's the good one. It draws extra cards." But really, it's just too slow. Just too slow, mate. Four mana to draw 3. 4 mana to draw 2 cards. I don't know. I've been impressed by the implement of ferocity, as you said, Zimon, and we've even seen the red implement. We've seen the implement of combustion get amongst it every now and again.
Yeah, but ultimately that's just very limited. It will never really scale its effect. You know, it's just 1 damage is 1 damage, not too much to talk about. But putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature with all these synergies, or with exactly this leopard very early on in the game, can create kind of a snowball effect.
Huge disparity between the power level of the green one and the red one.
Yep.
+1/+1 counter versus 1 damage upstairs. I mean, maybe if it hit creatures, but then if it hit creatures, it'd be great. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got some bad news. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this game up before it does come to its conclusion, because the top 8 is raring and ready to go, my friend. So I can announce the winner of this match to you all. It was, in fact, Fabian Dickmann. He did manage to get up at the end of the second game and secured a 10th place spot for himself. So not exactly where he would have wanted to finish, but still a very good effort from him all the same. Ladies and gentlemen, the top 8 is nearly upon us. We're stepping out of the booth now, and I'm hoping you're going to stick with us for our coverage of the top 8. You'll be joined by Matej and Tim before very much longer. On behalf of Zeman and myself, thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you back here very soon after these short messages.